I nearly gave up. Today's Galactic Challenge video was one of the most irritating Galactic challenges that I have ever came across. These Jedi, these modifiers, these droids, having all of their benefits stripped away from them was very, very irritating. But don't worry, we finally cracked the code, and hopefully you can too. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, to be galactically challenged? Test of Strength is the global modifier for this particular Galactic Challenge, and it's part of the reasons why this one is particularly difficult. Now, Test of Strength means that everybody starts the game with 10 stacks of hesitation. For each stack of hesitation that's on each ally, they're going to be losing 5% offense and 5% tenacity. And as long as you have any stacks of hesitation, you can neither recall assists, nor can you gain turn meter. Now, that does pose a bit of a challenge for us because we are going to be using a GG droid team, which relies incredibly heavily on the ability to generate turn meter when attacking target-locked enemies. But it does also impact the enemy Jedi team in so much as they can't call assists when they use direct focus, Bastila Shan when she buffs people, and Jolee when he uses his heal. Unfortunately for us, our modifier, Protocol Exterminate, only offers a small amount of benefit. We're gaining 30% offense and we inflict target lock whenever we crit an enemy if we didn't already have target lock on the enemy. Whenever we hit a target locked enemy, we do recover 10% protection. Now that offense boost doesn't really help our real kill mechanic, which is GG, but the additional target lock does help us, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. The recovery is always nice. Humble Strikes is the Jedi modifier, and it does mean that whenever their buffs expire during their turns, they're going to be gaining advantage and stacking crit damage, so it does really put a timer on our event. I spent a long time testing different comps with different mod setups to finally come up with a solution that works for me, and I think I found a solution that will work more reliably for other people if you happen to have the right characters geared. So I'm just going to talk real briefly about the team that I'm going to be using, the mods, and the approach. Here's the team comp that we're running with. We're running General Grievous alongside R2-D2, IG-88, 3PO and Chewie, and T3M4. There are a few sticking points, a few linchpins to this team that you really need to hit. Because Xaereth is in the enemy team, we need to have some form of heal immunity. IG-88 and his Zeta means that enemies that have got target lock cannot heal, and this is key. We're throwing in T3M4 because he's going to be passing a lot of additional damage. He does also require his Zeta on that. He's only gear 11, so you don't need a massive investment. Obviously, more is better, but you need this combat logic upgrade. Droid allies gain 8% potency and 8% critical hit chance each time T3 uses an ability. Also, droid allies have 8% crit damage for each debuff on the enemy. That is key, because we're going to be throwing out a lot of debuffs onto this enemy team, which is going to soup up our GG for when he does a big hit. Now, 3PO and Chewie is one of the, I would say he's not absolutely necessary. If you happen to have IPD geared up, he is a much better choice than 3PO and Chewie. I've modded my 3PO to be fast, around 330 speed. He is there to remove the tenacity up, and he's there to remove things like foresight from the enemy team, and to hopefully put blind on the enemy team as well. R2-D2 is a means of control for us mainly. He's there to stun the likes of GMY, stun the likes of Basti, hopefully Jolee as well, to try to control them just a little bit when we really, really need it. And General Grievous is of course our big damage dealer. I've modded him for about 207 speed and about 150,000 plus max hit points. He obviously does damage based on his max hit points, so you want to soup that up as high as possible. But if you can, throw a crit damage triangle on him as well. As far as IG-88 is concerned, you want him to be fast and you want him to have potency. As far as turn order is concerned, you want 3PO and Chewie going first and General Grievous going last. Really, the rest of it doesn't actually matter. You're never going to outpace Revan, but you want to be faster than everybody else on the enemy team. Trigger points for a restart, guys. This will save you time. If you go in and lose T3 at the start, just restart. If Jedi Knight Revan focuses down Chewpio, or if you focus down GG, just restart. If IG-88 goes out and he gets a bunch of ability blocks on the enemy team, perfect, you're on a good run. And finally, you're really hoping that the Jedi Knight Revan starts the battle using his strategic advantage ability. He tries to call an ally to assist, but because there are no assists right now, he'll just do a basic on an enemy. That is a perfect opener. Keep an eye out for that. Alright, let's go into the footage. Alrighty. So, as you can see, we get the perfect starter here. Jedi Knight Revan just uses his call to assist, which does basically nothing. Chewie then gets the blind on everybody, and IG-88 puts a bunch of ability block and debuffs out there. Because I'm looking so strong, I put out a burn from R2-D2, which is more debuffs, more stacking crit damage, and all good business. T3M4 still being alive does his big AoE, we're putting even more debuffs out, and then GG just flattens the board. GMY is now absolutely gone, and our boy Chupio just gets super mad. There we go. I love my boy Chupio. Oh my days, and now it's just a lonely Jedi Knight Revan. He ain't going to do much. We do lose T3M4, but Revan on his own is just not a big threat anymore. You can basically put it on auto this point, and the really nice thing about this is once you get this perfect setup, the battle takes 1 minute. It might take you an hour to get to this point, but the battle itself only takes a minute. So Chupio is proving to be the MVP of this team right now, but T3 is absolutely pivotal. If you have IPD, he can certainly control the team a lot better than Chupio though. So Chupio taking his crown there and going home with it. Beautiful. But that is of course not all the feats that we need to get done. We do still need to get the 30 attempted dots to be done, so let's go over that video real quick. So I'm using a Vader lead team here with Mara Jade, Piet, Gideon and Thrawn. You'll never outpace that DR unfortunately, but beneficially for us, it doesn't matter if they resist these debuffs or not. We only have to attempt to apply them. So just go ahead and start going into Merciless Massacre, throwing out those dots. Once you've done 2, it's already done. Piet is super useful because he can dispel all the buffs off the enemy team, potentially put daze on them as well. And this is just a slow burn, to be honest, guys. You can go in there and just gradually clip away these guys, and eventually they'll die. With Vader's leadership, when he does start landing those dots are going to reapply, and we can always land ability block on all the Jedi here, apart from Jedi Knight Revan, because he is immune. Mara Jade gives us a nice level of control as well. She puts a bunch of tenacity down, she can go ahead and stun, and put shock on as well. It's a super useful team comp. This also doesn't obviously require any GLs, it's just a little bit of a time sink. I'd recommend getting the Fracture off on Jedi Knight Revan. That's simply because he can cleanse the rest of the team, and that just gets really irritating. So when you get the chance, Fracture that Jedi Knight Revan and just keep working on these enemy teams. It's really not that big of a deal, and it'll easily hit the 30 dots that you need to land. I also find that with Piet, if you go ahead and place them marked onto Thrawn, that means whenever the Fracture is up, Thrawn is going to start counterattacking and can then actually put stuns out on the enemy team. Mara Jade does her work and adds a little bit of stagger to the team, and we just want to slowly chip away at them. It's really not a big deal, like I said. And that is the feats done with just 2 teams. Ladies and gentlebeans, I hope you managed to get yours done, but more importantly, I want to know your opinions. Have you been playing the new Rise of the Empire TB? I've gone over it in quite a bit of detail here, explaining why you should be going ahead and taking a stab at this, even if you might not be in the biggest guild. Go ahead and watch this video where I discuss it more in depth. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.